stranger pays for old woman's groceries. Then she sees his tattoo. Asterisk. The fluorescent lights of Save Mart grocery store buzzed overhead as Maria Gonzalez stood frozen in the checkout line, her face burning with embarrassment. The cashier had just informed her that her EBT card had been declined, and the total for her modest cart of groceries, mostly generic brands and basic necessities for her 3 young children, came to $127.43. She had exactly $31.50 in in-cars. Cash, barely enough to cover a quarter of what her family needed for the week. Behind her, a growing line of impatient customers began shifting restlessly, some checking their phones, others sighing audibly. Maria's hands trembled as she began removing items from her cart, trying to calculate which essentials she could afford and which luxuries, like the small box of cereal her 6-year-old daughter had begged for, would have to wait until next month. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the teenage cashier, whose name tag read Ashley. "Can you please remove the milk, the bread, and—" Her voice cracked as she realized that even removing those items wouldn't bring the total down enough. Her 3 children, ages 4, 6, and 8, stood beside her, their eyes wide with confusion and growing awareness that something was very wrong. Little Sophia, her youngest, tugged on Maria's worn jacket. "Mama, why can't we buy food?" she asked in Spanish, her innocent voice carrying clearly through the store's acoustics. Maria's eyes filled with tears as she knelt down to her daughter's level, trying to find words that would explain their situation without destroying the child's sense of security. That's when a gentle hand touched her shoulder. Maria looked up to see a man in his 50s, dressed in simple jeans and a faded flannel shirt that had seen better days. His work boots were scuffed, his hands calloused, and his graying beard was neatly trimmed but not professionally styled. Everything about his appearance suggested he was a working-class man, probably a construction worker or mechanic finishing his shift. "Excuse me, miss," he said quietly, his voice carrying a slight southern accent. "I couldn't help but notice you're having a tough time. Would you mind if I helped out with your groceries today?" Maria's first instinct was to refuse. Pride had been one of the few things she'd managed to hold on to since her husband's death in a workplace accident 8 months earlier, since the medical bills had consumed their savings, since she'd been forced to move her children into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in the roughest part of town. But as she looked at her children's faces, at Sophia's confused expression and her son Diego's attempt to be brave while his lower lip trembled, she realized that pride was a luxury she could no longer afford. "Sir, I can't ask you to do that," she stammered, switching to English. "This is a lot of money, and I don't even know you." The stranger smiled, and there was something in his eyes that reminded Maria of her late father, a warmth and kindness that seemed to come from deep within his soul. "You're not asking," he said gently. "I'm offering. And sometimes, when life gets hard, we all need a little help from our neighbors." Before Maria could protest further, the stranger had already stepped forward to the cashier. "I'll take care of this," he told Ashley, pulling out a worn leather wallet from his back pocket. "And please add back everything she was going to remove. Kids need their milk and bread." Ashley looked between Maria and the stranger with surprise, but she began scanning the items back into the order. As she did, the stranger turned to Maria's children, kneeling down to their level with the easy familiarity of someone who had children of his own. "What are your names?" he asked in surprisingly fluent Spanish, causing all 3 children to light up with excitement. It had been months since anyone outside their small community had made the effort to speak to them in their native language. "I'm Diego," said the 8-year-old, puffing out his chest with pride. "And this is Carmen and Sophia. Our mama works very hard, but sometimes things are difficult." The stranger nodded seriously, treating Diego's words with the respect he would give to an adult. Your mama is very brave, he said. And you're a good big brother for taking care of your sisters. What do you want to be when you grow up? A doctor, Diego replied without hesitation. So I can help people like Mama helps people at the hospital. Maria worked as a night shift janitor at the county hospital, a job that barely paid above minimum wage but provided basic health insurance for her family. That's a wonderful dream, the stranger said, reaching into his wallet again. Doctors need to study hard and eat well to keep their brains strong. He handed Diego a $20 bill. This is for you to buy some extra books or school supplies. Okay? A future doctor needs good tools. Carmen, a 6-year-old, stepped forward shyly. Are you an angel? She asked in English, her pronunciation careful and deliberate. Mama says angels help people when they're sad. The stranger's eyes crinkled with genuine amusement. No, sweetheart, I'm not an angel. I'm just a regular person who believes that good things happen when people help each other. What about you? What do you want to be when you grow up? A teacher, Carmen said proudly. Like Miss Rodriguez at school. She's very nice, and she helps me read better. Teachers are very important, the stranger agreed, handing Carmen a $20 bill as well. They help build the future by teaching. Children like you. He turned to little Sophia, who had been watching the interaction with wide, curious eyes. And what about you, princess? What do you want to be? Sophia giggled and hid behind her mother's leg for a moment before peeking out. A princess, she declared, causing everyone within earshot to smile. But also maybe a veterinarian because I love puppies. The stranger laughed, a rich, warm sound that seemed to fill the entire checkout area with joy. A princess veterinarian sounds like the best job in the world, he said, giving Sophia her own $20 bill. You can help all the animals in the kingdom. By this time, the total had reached $127.43, and Ashley was waiting for payment. The stranger handed over his credit card without even glancing at the amount, as if spending over $100. On Groceries for Strangers was the most natural thing in the world. As the transaction processed, other customers in line began to take notice of what was happening. Instead of the impatience and irritation that had been building earlier, a different energy filled the checkout area. People were smiling, some wiping away tears, others pulling out their phones to capture what they recognized as a moment of pure human kindness. Sir, Maria said, her voice thick with emotion, I don't know how to thank you. This is ... Thus is more than groceries. This is hope. My children will eat well this week because of your kindness. The stranger waved off her thanks with a gentle gesture. We all go through tough times, he said simply. I've been blessed in my life, and I believe that blessings are meant to be shared. Besides, your children are clearly being raised right. Diego wants to be a doctor, Carmen wants to be a teacher, and Sophia wants to help animals. The world needs more people like them. Ashley finished processing the payment and began bagging the groceries. As she worked, she couldn't help but comment on what she'd witnessed. I've been working here for 2 years, she said, and I've never seen anything like this. You're really something special, sir. The stranger shook his head. There's nothing special about helping your neighbors, he replied. It's just the right thing to do. As they prepared to leave, Maria noticed that several other customers had approached the stranger, wanting to shake his hand or express their admiration for his generosity. He accepted their thanks graciously, but seemed uncomfortable with the attention, clearly preferring to keep his good deed as private as possible. Wait, Maria said suddenly, realizing she didn't even know her benefactor's name. I don't know what to call you. How can I ever repay this kindness? The stranger paused, considering her question carefully. You can call me Robert, he said. Finally, and you don't need to repay me. Just ... When things get better for you and your family, and they will get better, maybe you'll remember this day and help someone else who needs it. That's how kindness works. It passes from person to person, making the world a little brighter each time. Robert helped Maria load her groceries into her beat-up Honda Civic, making sure the bags were secure and that nothing would spill during the drive home. As he worked, Maria noticed that despite his humble appearance, there was something about the way he carried himself that suggested he was accustomed to being in charge, to making decisions that affected other people's lives. "Robert," she said as they finished loading the car, "are you sure you're not an angel? Because right now, you feel like a miracle to me and my children." Robert smiled that warm, paternal smile again. "I'm just a man who's been very fortunate in life," he said, "and I believe that fortune is meant to be shared." After Robert disappeared into the parking lot, driving away in a modest pickup truck that looked like it had seen plenty of hard work, Maria and her children drove home in a state of wonder and gratitude. The children chattered excitedly about their encounter with the kind stranger, already making plans for how they would spend their $20 gifts. "Mama," Diego said from the back seat, "Robert was different from other grown-ups. He listened to us like we were important." Maria nodded, still processing what had happened. "He was very special, Mio. Sometimes God sends people into our lives exactly when we need them most." That evening, as Maria prepared dinner with the groceries Robert had bought, a real dinner with fresh vegetables, good meat, and milk for the children, she couldn't shake the feeling that there had been something unusual about their encounter. Robert's clothes and truck suggested he was a working man of modest means, but there had been something in his demeanor, in the way he'd handled the situation, that spoke of someone accustomed to much more. The next morning, Maria decided to return to Save Mart to thank the cashier, Ashley, and to ask if she knew anything about Robert. She found Ashley working the same checkout lane, and the young woman's face lit up when she saw Maria approaching. "How are you doing?" Ashley asked immediately. "I've been thinking about what happened yesterday. That was really something special. I wanted to thank you for being so kind during a difficult moment," Maria said. "And I was wondering, do you know anything about Robert, the man who helped us?" Ashley's expression grew curious. "That's funny you should ask," she said, lowering her voice. "After you left yesterday, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Something about the whole situation felt, I don't know, different, so I asked my manager if she knew who he was. And, well, Mrs. Patterson, that's my manager, she's worked here for 15 years, and she said she'd never seen him before. But here's the weird part. When she looked at the receipt from his credit card transaction, she recognized the name." Maria felt her heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" Ashley glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer. The name on the credit card was Robert Chun. Mrs. Patterson said that name sounded familiar, so she looked it up on her phone. "Maria, Robert Chun is the CEO of Chun Industries. He's worth like $50 million. The words hit Maria like a physical blow. $50 million. She had been helped by one of the wealthiest men in the state, and he had been dressed like a construction worker, driving a beat-up pickup truck, acting like spending $127 on groceries for strangers was nothing unusual. "That can't be right," Maria whispered. "He was so normal, so humble. Rich people don't dress like that, don't act like that." Ashley nodded enthusiastically. "That's what I thought too. So I did some research when I got home. Robert Chun is famous for being different from other rich people. He grew up poor, worked construction to pay for college, and even after he became successful, he never forgot where he came from. There are stories about him all over the internet. He's always helping people, but he does it quietly, without publicity." Maria spent the rest of that day researching Robert Chun online and what she discovered left her speechless. Robert Chun had indeed grown up in poverty, the son of immigrants who had worked multiple jobs to support their family. He had started Chun Industries in his garage 25 years earlier, building it into one of the most successful construction and real estate development companies in the region. But what made Robert truly remarkable wasn't his business success. It was his philosophy of giving back. According to numerous articles and interviews, Robert had pledged to give away 90% of his wealth during his lifetime, focusing on helping working families, funding education programs, and supporting small businesses in underserved communities. The more Maria read, the more she understood why Robert had seemed so different from other wealthy people she had encountered in movies or on television. He still lived in the same modest house he had bought when he first became successful, still drove older vehicles, and still dressed like the construction worker he had once been. Multiple articles mentioned his belief that wealth was a responsibility, not a privilege, and that the best way to honor his good fortune was to share it with others. One article from the local business journal particularly caught Maria's attention. It described Robert's Random Acts of Kindness program, where he would regularly visit grocery stores, gas stations, and other businesses in low-income neighborhoods, looking for opportunities to help families in need. The article mentioned that Robert preferred to help people directly, person to person, rather than through formal charity organizations. He believes that when you help someone face to face, you're not just giving them money or goods, the article quoted Robert as saying. You're giving them dignity, respect, and hope. You're showing them that they matter, that someone cares about their struggle. Maria realized that her encounter with Robert hadn't been a random coincidence. It had been part of a deliberate effort on his part to find and help families like hers. The thought that someone so successful would spend his time actively looking for ways to help strangers was both humbling and inspiring. That evening, Maria gathered her children around the kitchen table and told them what she had learned about Robert. Their reactions were a mixture of amazement and confusion. "He's really rich?" Diego asked, his eyes wide. "But he was so nice to us. I thought rich people were mean." "Some rich people might be mean," Maria explained, "but Robert is different. He remembers what it was like to struggle, and he uses his success to help other people who are struggling now." Carmen, ever the thoughtful one, asked, "Does this mean we're special? That he chose us?" Maria considered the question carefully. "I think it means that Robert sees everyone as special," she said finally. "He helped us because he saw a family that needed help, and he had the ability to provide it. But I also think it means we have a responsibility now." "What kind of responsibility?" Sophia asked, not fully understanding but sensing the seriousness of the conversation. "Robert told me that when things get better for us, we should help someone else who needs it. That's how kindness works. It passes from person to person. So we need to remember this feeling, this gratitude, and someday we need to be the ones helping another family." 6 months after their encounter with Robert Chun, Maria's life had indeed begun to improve. The $20 bills he had given to each of her children had been carefully saved and used for school supplies and books, just as he had suggested. Diego was excelling in his studies. Carmen had become one of the top readers in her class, and Sophia was learning to write her letters with the help of workbooks they had been able to afford. More importantly, Maria had found a better job. Through a connection at the hospital, where she worked as a janitor, she had been offered a position as a medical assistant trainee. The job paid significantly more and offered opportunities for advancement, but it also required her to attend evening classes to earn her certification. On this particular Saturday morning, Maria found herself at the same Save Mart where she had met Robert, but this time her cart was full and her wallet contained enough money to pay for everything without worry. As she waited in line, she noticed a young mother ahead of her struggling with a similar situation to the one Maria had faced months earlier. The woman, who appeared to be in her early 20s, was trying to juggle a crying baby while explaining to the cashier that her card had been declined. Her cart contained mostly baby formula, diapers, and basic necessities, and her face showed the same mixture of embarrassment and desperation that Maria remembered feeling so acutely. Without hesitation, Maria stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said gently. "Would you mind if I helped with your groceries today?" The young mother looked up with surprise and gratitude, and Maria saw her own story reflected in the woman's eyes. As she paid for the stranger's groceries, Maria felt a warmth spreading through her chest that had nothing to do with the store's heating system. "I don't know how to thank you," the young mother said, tears streaming down her face. This is a miracle." Maria smiled, remembering Robert's words from that day 6 months ago. "You don't need to thank me," she said. "Just remember this feeling, and someday, when you're able, help someone else who needs it. That's how kindness works." As Maria helped the young mother load her groceries into her car, she realized that Robert's gift had been about much more than $127 worth of food. He had given her family hope, dignity, and most importantly, the understanding that everyone deserves. Compassion and support during difficult times. Later that evening, Maria decided to write a letter to Robert Chun, addressing it to his company's headquarters. She wanted him to know how his kindness had changed her family's life, and how she was now passing that kindness forward to others. "Dear Mr. Chun," she wrote, "6 months ago, you bought groceries for my family when we had nothing. You probably don't remember us. We were just one family among many you've helped. But I want you to know that your kindness didn't just feed my children that day. It fed their hope, their dreams, and their belief that good people exist in this world. Today, I was able to help another family the way you helped us. Your kindness is multiplying, spreading from person to person, just like you said it would." The cycle of generosity that Robert had started with a simple act of compassion was now continuing through Maria, and would continue through the young mother she had helped, and through countless others who would be touched by this ever-expanding circle of kindness. If this story of unexpected generosity and the ripple effect of kindness has touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories that prove the power of human compassion. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our community of people who believe in the extraordinary impact of ordinary acts of kindness.